Welcome to Module 5 and welcome to this lesson on line weighting and the importance of line weighting in our work. Now, what are line weights? Line weights effectively refer to the thinness or the thickness of a line or the darkness or the lightness of a line. And really, what we can do with effective line weights is we can indicate whether something is in the foreground or whether something is in the background by making thinner, lighter lines for background elements and thicker, darker lines for foreground elements. Now, line weights come, technically speaking, from something called atmospheric perspective. An atmospheric perspective is really this idea that the buildup of air between objects causes things in the foreground to be darker and things in the background, and as they recede, to get lighter, and eventually so light that you can't see them anymore. So really, this is a fundamental art principle that we build our line weighting from. For us as artists, we really want to utilize this theory to indicate whether things are overlapping or underlapping, whether something is in front or behind, and we can build up multiple layers of things by thickening or thinning the lines on those objects. So if I were to draw a sphere and a cylinder behind it, and I wanted to indicate, apart from using the line overlaps that we see here, that the sphere is in front, I can thicken the lines of the sphere, especially at the areas where they overlap. When you're doing line weighting, you want to make sure that your line weights are clear, but of course within proportions in terms of the line's thickness. You don't want to thicken a thin line by making it 10 times the size. It'll look a little bit strange when you're line weighting thin lines with hugely thick lines. But what you want to rather do is have areas where you build up the line to be a little thicker and darker, especially at the points of overlap. Utilizing Na on the left-hand side of this image, we are going to point out some key areas where line weights have been used to show depth in the image. In this instance, we can see thicker lines on these areas of her hair here, which help the viewer to understand that the hair itself is in front of the face. A key location for line weighting is the chin line going into the jawline, which overlaps the neck. This is pretty critical as well for showing that the head is overlapping the neck. We can see very thick lines on her breasts here as they come in front of her arms. And more subtle line weights can be seen just below her rib cage here, where her wrists are overlapping. And as well, we can also see thicker outlines on certain overlapping areas of these maple leaves, because the maple leaves are significantly more in the foreground and are in front of the character. Effectively, line weights allow us to add another layer of depth. We use forms to build 3D, we use line overlaps to show depth, and we can use line weights as well to enhance the depth that is being shown by the line overlaps themselves. This is effectively the fundamentals of line weighting in a nutshell. I'll see you in the next lesson.